What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, I'll be talking about the UFC Fight Night headlined by corysandhagen versus robfont and the Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz fight. First, for the UFC Fight Night headlined by corysandhagen versus robfont, starting with jakehadley versus codydurden. What an amazing fight between these two. It was great from the sound of the first bell. A lot of work on their feet, but what they both did on the ground was something different. Both locking in their own fight finishing submissions, just not being able to complete it fully. The closest I would say was an armbar. Jake was able to lock on in the second round, but Cody did a great job staying composed and was able to get out of it. Cody was able to pull off the unanimous decision victory in a great fight, and major props to Jake being able to pull through a nasty first round cut to finish the fight. Now for the jeremiahwells versus carlstonharris fight. What a performance from jeremiahwells. He was able to control the fight on the ground and having over 3 minutes of control time in the first and the second round. Say what you want about Wells not being able to do anything with the control time, but he was able to hold Harris down. In the third round, the tide changed. Carlston was able to land an anaconda choke and finish the fight. A great comeback victory for Carlston after obviously losing the first 2 rounds. Carlston came back and finished the fight. Now, for ignaciobahamondes versus ludovitklein. What more is there to say about this fight? Klein was the much better fighter on the night and pretty much dominated the fight. It was a great win for Klein. But now, talking about diegolopes. And for this fight, there really is no words besides mismatch. Diego came back from a pretty bad low blow to come back and finish the fight in the same round, showing his great jiu-jitsu ability. A triangle that transitioned into a nasty armbar finished this fight, thus ending the night and getting Diego his first UFC victory. Now, for tatianasuarez versus Jessicaandrade. Jessica looked better than she had in her recent fights, but I'm pretty sure we all knew what Tatiana was going to do, and she did that in the second round. She was able to take Jessica down and locked in a guillotine that really wasn't fully in, but she still got Jessica to tap. A great win for Suarez. Who do you think Tatiana fights next? Let me know in the comments below. Now, for the main event, corysandhagen versus robfont. This is another fight that went the complete opposite direction from what I expected. I thought they were going to spend most of the time on their feet, but boy was I wrong. The first went somewhat that way, but other than that, Corey spent most of his time in top control, really controlling the fight on the ground. Some may say that it was a boring fight or whatever, but the fighters are in this to win. Not every fight they're in is going to be amazing. There's only a few fighters that could do that. Corey stated after the fight that he felt his bicep ruptured in the first round and he was having nagging elbow problems that forced him to change his game plan. And honestly, you can't fault him for that. He did what he had to do to win, and he should not be looked down on for that. A good saying for this is a fighter would rather win a boring fight than lose an exciting one, or something like that. And Corey did just that. He won a very clear unanimous decision victory that ended a great card. Honestly, it was a card most people didn't expect much from, but I really liked it. And now for the Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz fight, starting with amandaserrano. What more is there to say about this fight? Amanda was as great as always, outboxed Heather Hardy until the last round where they really slugged it out. Amanda pulled out the unanimous decision victory. And now for the main event, Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. It was clearly two people that should not be main eventing a pay-per-view card. I seen this fight a lot closer than most. I actually had Nate Diaz winning a decision by the slightest of margins, 95-94. Now, Nate was dropped in the 5th round and visibly hurt a couple times, especially in the first, but he still stayed in the fight. Jake really showed he has no stamina past the 6th round. If Nate had just a little more power, Jake would have been done. Now, I'm done talking about this fight. It was shit. Now I want to talk about the commentary. God, did that shit suck. I don't really hear commentary often, but I wanted to see who was on the call. And my God, shawnporter, do you suck. The only thing I hear out of your mouth was, I heard, I would, I did. Nobody cares about you. Yes, you were a world champion fighter, but now you're a commentator. Talk about the fight, not about all that extra bullshit having to include yourself into everything. Nobody cares about it. And there's also 2 people fighting, not just Jake Paul. Now, for a hockey trade that went down between 3 teams, the Montrealcanadiens, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the San Jose Sharks. The big piece was erikkarlsson leaving the Sharks to join the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Sharks got a package of 3 players and a protected first-round pick in 2024. The Penguins not only got 3 players and a 2026 third-round pick from the Sharks, but they were able to clear $3 million in cap space. The Penguins sent 3 players and a 2025 second-rounder to the Canadiens. This was honestly, I would say, a good trade for all teams involved. The Sharks got at least the first rounder for Karlsson and didn't retain as much money as people thought. They only retained 1.5 mil. They also got 2 players that arguably make them a better team, as Karlsson's defensive flaws are always a big problem. And for the Pens, they secured another star to play alongside their big 3, so they could hopefully make a push for the Cup in Sid's last couple of years. Now, the Habs really didn't have to give up much to also win in this trade. They gave up only Mike Hoffman and got back Jeff Petrie and a decent goalie in Casey DeSmith. Going back to the Sharks, I still feel this was a good thing, getting at least a first rounder when they had their backs up against the wall and were pretty much forced to make a trade this offseason. And now I could officially say Macklin Celebrini or Cole Eiserman will be a San Jose Shark next year. Besides that, what do you guys think about this trade? Who won? Who got the worst end of the stick? Let me know. That'll be it for me. Thank you guys for staying until the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you later on this week as I talk about the amazing fights that await us. See you then.